G'day guys and welcome back to the Freo Faithful podcast, episode number 15. Oh wait, it's not episode 15? Oh, I thought we recorded episode 14 last night. No, I thought we already recorded episode Jeremy Sharp, Nathan Wills and Anthony Grover. Tell us what happened.
I don't know what you want me to say, mate. We're here, episode 14, reviewing the Power game, previewing the Suns game. Great win on the weekends. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I was pretty good until I asked, hey Noah, we filmed the podcast on a Sunday. It should be up on a Monday. It gets to about 9 o'clock. I'm running my bubble bath, ready to listen to it back. And Noah hits me with I forgot to turn the on button on my audio recording, which is good. So we're just going to sit here and pretend like we don't know each other's opinion on the Freo game for another 40 minutes. I can't wait.
Oh, mate, I don't know what to say. Apologies about that. Apologies to you all for getting the podcast out a day late. But hey, that being said, the pod's out a day late, but we've still won 2 in a row, and we're going to win 3 in a row this weekend.
Yes. How was it at Optus on Saturday night, Noah? In the wet, wasn't it? I bet you weren't too warm. We've been over this before.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't very warm whatsoever. I'm sure you're on the edge of your seat for what analysis I'm going to give about this game. It was a very, very good performance. It was a very smart performance. Our smalls obviously led the way. It was the Reid, Isaiah Dudley, Shea Bolton, Sam Switkowski, Michael Frederick show. It was all of those guys who have really clicked.
Long name of a show.
Oh, it was a big, big show. Those guys have really clicked. And it sort of just reminded us, we've revitalised that small forward line from previous years, in particular last year. And we've also just overcome yet another mental roadblock in the fact that I've now got confidence we can win games in the wet. And on Saturday, I've had a little sneak peek at the forecast on the Gold Coast. 100% chance of rain, 90% humidity. It's going to be a wet one. So,
wow,
plays into our hands. It's obviously a tough place to go, but I've got confidence we can get something on Saturday now. So, yeah, great win on the weekend, and a bit of confidence for going forward.
Well, there's a bit of intel that wasn't on episode 14, the original 14.1, the forecast. So that's something new. That's got my ears pricked up. You spoke about the small forwards there. Reid with 4 goals was absolutely sublime. The skill level of him and Isaiah Dudley for players that are so young in the first 10 games or so of their career. It's absolutely unreal that we've been able to pick these two up when, last season, we had like Sam Sturt, Walters, those guys in that forward line. And we sort of question why we keep getting younger year on year. But when you take out a Walters and you chuck in a Dudley and you take out, a Jager O'Meara and then you have a Rasmus rolling through the midfield, that is how we get younger. But a point we made on podcast filming 14.1 that will never see the light of day is our forward mix right now is probably the best that it has been in a very long time. And the conundrum of bringing Darcy back in, that is probably the part, even though we got the dominance of Jackson in the ruck that we'll get onto, but I think that is what's going to take the biggest hit. I feel like our forward line right now is really working well. JT didn't have the biggest game on the scoreboard, but really competed well. His 1%ers were massive. Vossi brought the energy, and you were a big fan of Jai Amos's game as well.
Yeah, I was. I think just the continuity of the forward line we've got going at the moment, and we were both saying we've got so much faith in this mix that we've got at the front of the park. Ever since the Pavlich and Main days, we've sort of just been chopping and changing for 8-9 years to really find something that the whole fan base is comfortable with. And we haven't really gotten to that point until now. I'd say a large portion are really happy with what they're seeing week in, week out. I was a big fan of Jai Amos's game. It's been a season where we've criticised him for his lack of presence in the forward line. We've seen the Bash brothers just, as their name suggests, bash into contests non-stop and really explode and take control of that forward line, where Jai Amos's presence has been a little bit underwhelming, despite his sort of bigger frame that he's developed over the off-season. But I thought on the weekend, he really crashed every single contest he saw, and he brought the ball to ground at every single sort of instance he had the option to, and it led to the Dudleys and the Reids to have really, really clean games at ground level. And we were speaking about, or you were just speaking about how we've got such smart footballers down there now. Isaiah Dudley and Reid, neither of them are the quickest or the strongest, but they are so incredibly intelligent. and they just know what to do in front of goal and around the ground. So, yeah, that forward makeup at the moment is working so well.
When we don't have, we don't have to rely on Josh Tracy to kick 4 to win us games. You know that the forward line is functioning well. It was a wet night. It wasn't pretty. That last goal in particular, the Bolton goal, was just territory, but we're all on the same page. We all knew what was required. You spoke about cracking in there, and a player that cracked in and cracked a joint in his AC joint is Cooper Simpson, who absolutely gutted to see get out of the side, because it felt like he genuinely in the last couple weeks found his place in the team after a year and a half of trying to get regular footy. He finally got it, and his first contest of the game goes in with the bump. Hard as nails, but unfortunately, Isaac Newton's laws of, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, something like that. You're in year 10 science, you can probably tell me better, but busted his shoulder up. JL praised him post-game. And we were speaking about this on 14.1, that it's crazy that efforts like that get praised. Like, you broke your collarbone, well done. You go back with the flight and get knocked out, that's what we need from you. That is the brutality of the sport that we all love. And if you're going to want to be one of the best teams in the competition, you got to bring that toughness. Hopefully Cooper Simpson, heals up as fast as he can. It's not going to be an easy rehab for him, but we know that the way he prepares, he's a super athlete, and he's going to do everything that he can to get back out there as soon as possible. Hopefully we can see him in the back end of the season, but I do have my doubts. I think that's going to be a season-ending injury for young Cooper Simpson. The most promising part of this win for me, Noah, was that it was a 4-quarter performance. I thought we took a little bit to warm up in the first quarter. Thought we were just a little bit of a step, a step off it, I suppose. But we really built into it, brought the pressure. And it wasn't a game where we got on top and then faded away late. I feel like in the fourth quarter, we really went for it. That's a genuine 2 weeks in a row, back-to-back, where we have had 4-quarter performances. Now, last week, we referenced the Mortal Kombat health bar on a scale of 1 to 10, and I think I said I was at a 4. But after 8 good quarters in a row, I'm up at a 6. And heading into this Gold Coast game, I'm getting a little bit of belief back.
Yeah, definitely. You were talking about last week about just that soul-crushing Saints game, about how it's potentially not recoverable, this old health bar, based off that. But yeah, I thought on the weekend we really did crack in, and it was based off, it started with that Cooper Simpson bump, and I said straight after that led to our first goal of the game after conceding the first couple, and I said straight after that to Dad, we're on. And we've been speaking about this season, about in the first 5 or 10 minutes of a game, you know if the Dockers are on. It's a really weird thing, and it's not how it should be. But I just knew from the get-go, and I think a lot of the fan base probably knew that we were on, we were tough, and I think it carried throughout the rest of the game. That Simpson bump set the tempo for all of the guys to really crack in. So it's cost him 10 weeks of what was going to be a potential breakout season for him if it's not already. But yeah, it's devastating for him, but I think he was a main part in why we got the 4 points despite only being on the ground for about 5 minutes. So yeah, I think I don't think we had any passengers on the weekend, which was one of the main things. You know, in a lot of wins, you can still have 1 or 2 guys that can potentially perform to a higher standard. And while I'm sure we've still got some of those in the team, as we'll discuss in a second, I think everyone played their role really well, and I think it showed the sort of advantage of going unchanged, which I think is sort of something that's been understated. You know, having continuity in a team back-to-back weeks, getting 2 wins with that team. We're obviously going to have some forced changes this week against the Suns, but I think the whole 22 really played as a unit.
Yeah, 100%. It was an across-the-ground effort. Looking into the midfield now, Sarong and Brayshaw, they sort of were copping the tag or copping a bit of attention from Willem Drew particularly. But I thought the standout midfield performances on the night was that of Corey Wagner. So we can start on young Wagner. Just a pure tagger. We haven't had that tagger since Ryan Crowley. But against Collingwood, tagged Nick Dacos. Nick Dacos is probably the best player in the AFL, if not a top 2, top 3 player. And Zach Butters is just that rung below. top caliber, Brownlow contending player. So for him to do a job on Zach Butters and limit his influence on the game as well was magnificent. And Neil Erasmus, JL said in the presser the week in the lead up to the game that no one's guaranteed a spot in the side, which, to be honest, I'm critical of that comment from JL because I feel like there have been some players in the side this year that have played regardless of form. But Neil Erasmus has come in, and I felt like, particularly in this Port game, he didn't look like, he didn't look a rung below Brayshaw and Strong. Obviously, there are class players that have played, 100 games, both of them just about now. But Neil Erasmus, his tackling and his ball use, his composure really stood out for me. You said that he played on Tom Green the week before, big-bodied mid, and I kept a keen eye on Neil Erasmus in this game, and he really stood out. So, we've got this debate now with, Nathan O'Driscoll coming back into the team. Fife's not too far off. And speaking of whipping boys at the moment, I don't think there's a bigger whipping boy at the club than Matt Johnson, but I think Erasmus has done enough to hold his place in the squad.
Yeah, I think it was really impressive by our entire midfield unit to step up in not the absence of Brayshaw and Sarong, but they obviously didn't have their bigger games, and I think both of them fought off the double tag quite well, but it was that deep sort of centre bounce mix we had going through there that really got us the ascendancy out in the middle. We had Wagner going through there, we had Erasmus, we had Johnson, we had Murphy Reid for a bit later on as well, which was good to see. So to have that many guys, and Shea Bolton obviously, so to have that many guys going through there that can step up when Sarong and Brayshaw aren't having 35 and 2 and whatever, is really, really good to see. And you were just discussing that Wagner tag, and that is going to be invaluable late in the season. If you get to the finals or a grand final and you can shut down the opposition's best player, the advantage that gives you is, it's huge. And, late in the season, tags haven't been deployed that often in recent years. But I think it's starting to come back into vogue. And the fact we've got someone that can do it and is so versatile, he can play wing, he can play halfback, and, it's sort of a mid-game switch. If, next week Noah Anderson's getting on top of us, he's got 20 in the first half, we can move Wagner onto him, and we can have a little bit of a positional shuffle. So I think the fact we've just got that option there, even if we don't go with it from the start of the game, is so, so crucial.
Yeah, no, I've liked Wagner's work on the wing, and you said it well there, he can play half-back as well. A lot of teams get a lot of influence from their high half forwards as well, and, Sam Switkowski had 2 goals on the weekend, but I feel like that's a role that he could play as well, that sort of defensive high half forward role. So we have different sort of roles for players across the park now. So, with the injuries that we had to the midfield, it gave an opportunity for Wagner to step up. And, sometimes you unearth gems through times of crisis. So very happy with Corey Wagner at his 3rd AFL club to stand up for the Dockers. His speed, his foot skills, and now his ability to tag is great. You were speaking about looks in the midfield there. I think pretty much the reason that we looked at class above Port Adelaide and really took control of the game and took the game away from them was the ruck dominance of Luke Jackson against Dante DiVincenzo. I don't know how to say his name.
That is terrible.
I was going for Dante DiVincenzo. Is that the Minnesota player?
Dante DiVincenzo, former
Dante.
Nick, former Warrior.
Yep, now he's on the Timberwolves. So
yeah, he is.
For those NBA fans following along at home, he's not the ruckman for Port Adelaide, but there was a stat that came out earlier in the week that Luke Jackson has the highest impact per ruck contest in the AFL amongst ruckmen, and Shea Bolton has the highest impact per centre bounce attendance out of any midfielder. So when you have 2 players of that elite quality, and when I say elite quality, don't just have that come through one ear and go out the other, Noah. We are talking about 2 of the most damaging players in the competition on our list that we have acquired from other clubs. We've brought in that high-end talent. We've paid the price for them. We're going to lock up Luke Jackson and make sure that he doesn't go anywhere in the off-season and make sure that he honours that 2029 contract, because the impact that he had in the game, the goal that he kicked from the pocket, those 2 are just absolutely on the top of their game right now, and we don't want to see them go anywhere. But Darcy will likely come back into the side this week. So what do you make of all the word vomit I just gave you?
Yeah, and it's crazy because you were speaking about that sort of elite mix we've got going through there, and I'd say probably the third guy in that elite mix had 5 goals and 25 touches against the Swans on the weekend. So, look, we're going to be looking very, very dangerous very, very soon. And Luke Jackson, he only won the hit-out count by 2, but the dominance came around the ground. Vizentini just couldn't keep up with him. And I think the only other ruck that sort of gives an extra contest at ground level in the competition is Tom de Koning. And Luke Jackson just does it so much better than him. So we've got a one-of-a-kind generational ruckman on our hands here. As you just said, Sean Darcy, he will come back in this week because of the Jared Witts thing. And
before you go on the Darcy tangent, sorry to cut you off there, it wasn't Jackson's work around the ground. It was just when the ball hit the ground. So like even if he didn't win the ruck contest, as soon as the ball hit the ground, it was like 4-on-3 in the middle of the park.
It was the follow-up work. That's what it was.
Yeah. And I watched Tom de Koning closely on the weekend. I must admit, Noah, I let my colours down. I was sick on the weekend. I was bored. So I sat on the couch, and for the first time in 2 years, I downloaded Sportsbet. And I put a bet on Tom de Koning. And I was watching him closely. And let me tell you, I'm glad I have Luke Jackson because he was walking around, head down. Tom de Koning's head is going to St Kilda. I can tell you that right now. But anyway, Jackson, one of the most elite rucks in the comp right now. We're going through an era of some really good rucks. Jackson, Cherry, Darcy Cameron, Jared Witts, Toby Nankervis, like genuine golden era for ruckman at the moment. And Sean Darcy, our 2022 best and fairest winner, a player that's spoken about a lot at the moment. A lot is made of the ruck dynamic with him and Dogger, which we have spoken about a lot. But as we spoke about on podcast episode 14.1, Sean Darcy tends to go well against the Suns. That matchup with Witts, we like it. We like it a lot.
Yeah, we do. Just quickly on Tom de Koning, the reason his head was probably down so much was he's just come back from the first ever throat injury I've ever seen. Never seen a bloke miss a game due to a larynx. Not sure what's up with him, but Carl's in all sorts. And we
love that.
Oh, we do. It's beautiful. This whole Sean Darcy, Luke Jackson thing, this week in particular, is a real test of the coach's colours. Because realistically, bringing Sean Darcy in for a game where it is going to be pissing down, wet, dewy, is not the right thing to do. We shouldn't be doing it. We saw on the weekend the ascendancy Luke Jackson gives us at ground level in these conditions. Sean Darcy, 1 game back, not even playing waffle. It would be an incredible sort of decision to bring him in. The side where I could maybe lean towards him coming in being okay, they might play Ned Moyle. Often when teams play 2 good rucks or 1 good ruck, they play both Witts and Moyle, 2 genuine ruckmen. And a lot of the time, it's hard to get ascendancy out of the middle when they do that. So a big watch on who the Suns select on Thursday. It looks like Mac Andrew is also ruled out with that ankle injury. So he obviously chops out in the ruck occasionally for them. So yeah, their ruck department's going to be nearly as interesting as ours come the team selection on Thursday. So yeah, look, in the conditions, I personally wouldn't pick Darcy, but I'm pretty sure they will.
Especially when you got Vossi, he's not the best tap ruckman, but his physicality around the contest is definitely there. So bit of a selection headache for JL. And Buckley's been in the news a lot recently with his rumoured sort of appointment as Tassie head coach. Something that he came out with was, you've made the mistake in having these 2 rucks on such big money. Don't make the second mistake and sort of die on your laurels and, drop your pride a bit, drop your ego a bit. There will be a time for Sean Darcy to come into this side, but, we've played 2 really, probably our 2 best performances of the year so far in the last 2 weeks have been without him in the side. So, yeah, it's going to be a talking point. If he comes in, looks shit and we lose, the conversation's going to keep going. And we do not want that. We don't want to... I'm going through the points that we made last night. On the fan cams, Matty Johnson was getting ripped into again. And I feel bad because... he's got the big body. He puts himself in the right positions. He takes marks. But can we just get someone to receive a handball from him anytime the ball gets kicked inside 50 because, he kicked a good goal, to be fair to him, which he needed for his confidence. He needed to see one go through. But I think his disposal efficiency was in the 30s. I could be making that up.
43%.
From what 43%. That means that every 1 in 2 times he gets the ball, he turns it over more than 1 in 2 times. Statistically, that's good maths. Again, you're in year 10, so you probably know your
If you say I'm in year 10 one more time, I'll leave the pod. Wait.
Oh, I'm in year 12. I'm a big boy. Grow up.
This is the most embarrassing thing you've done all year.
And Bailey Banfield went to the halfback flank and did a job. But beware. Do not let this Trojan horse deceive you, because if things go pear-shaped and Bailey Banfield is in the back line, the fans will be going for his head. I remember when he came in for the GWS game, it was like, we have one change. It's like Bailey Banfield on the team lineups, and everyone was like,
oh, that photo was a pisser. I reckon the admin knew what they were doing when they posted that. Now, I tell you what, there actually will be rights at Coburn Arc if Bailey Banfield becomes a part of our first choice back six in this season.
Well, if it works for him, it works for him. But I just know if it goes badly, he'll cop it. Speaking of our back six, Alex Pearce, our captain, will be suspended for this game. The more I watch it, like at the time I'm like, yeah, 3 weeks, fair. Like, you can cuss a player with CTE and everything, and the way that the sport's tracking, fair enough. But there's no need for it to be 3. Just give him 2. He's running with his eyes for the ball. Darcy Byrne-Jones has as much fault in that as Alex Pearce does. If you choose to go back with the flight, you're choosing to get knocked out. Like, I saw a comment like, if Alex Pearce didn't go there, he's allowing an uncontested mark.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a bit of a frustrating one. I understand the weeks, but I think 3 is harsh, particularly given Alex Pearce's record. He's not a violent man by any means.
It's the good bloke.
Quite the opposite.
It's the good bloke thing that's surely got to come into it whenever the hearing
100%.
is. I actually recall something in the game last week against the Giants where Isaiah Dudley pulled out of a 1-on-1 contest, and he would have been knocked out if he actually went for the ball. I think it was fairly similar to the Byrne-Jones-Pearce thing on the weekend. He pulled out, actually led to a goal for us, and that was because he wasn't, knocked out cold. So, yeah, it's interesting. Byrne-Jones could have not possibly pulled out of that contest, I don't think. He would have been crucified if he pulled out, but the same goes for Pearce. So I think we've just got to have some leniency in the footy world at the moment with footy incidents, because I think footy incidents don't exist anymore. We are so sort of outcome over action at the moment. In my opinion, it's not how it should be. Yeah, I think it's the only sport in the world where there is such a big grey area in one of the most major facets of the game, which is really frustrating because we really need to get to a stage where there is just a black and white answer for these sorts of things. But there's still just so much guesswork.
So in your world, do you want Alex Pearce to cop 0 weeks? Bias aside, do you want him to cop 0 for that?
Yes.
Yeah, I disagree.
I
think you got to start. Yeah, I think you have to start drilling in that you can't. If you are at fault for concussing someone, I think at least a week. In my perfect world, Alex Pearce gets 1 week. But, especially, I don't know if this sort of ties into it. I don't want, maybe we can get deep on it. But the Adam Selwood stuff, the CTE in the game, Alex Pearce having 3 weeks off, if, that stops players from causing damage that can lead to that, I think it's a pretty small.
Did you see the Paul Seedsman interview there?
No, I didn't.
He had an interview with ABC Sport, and he was just going through sort of the post-traumatic stress he's been having. He wakes up hallucinating and with nausea and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's obviously something that the AFL, from a player care perspective and unfortunately, certainly from a financial perspective, the cases that the AFL have going on at the moment from former players that are going through things like Paul Seedsman, and when it gets to the extreme cases, guys like Adam Selwood and Danny Frawley who have passed away as a result of these sort of CTE instances. The AFL are keeping or are attempting to keep on top of it, and I think this suspension for Pearce is just a way they are trying to. But I think I'm more leaning towards the side with what you just said. If he got a week, then I would be more than okay with that. I just think 3 is so extreme for something that isn't malicious, wasn't intentional. So yeah, it's something we've got to stamp out of the game, but I think the AFL do need to find a middle ground.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. We'll be without our skipper heading up to the Gold Coast on Saturday, and they'll be without the Big Mac. Andrew, claim your Big Mac for free every time Freo win at your nearest McDonald's. And if you have multiple membership barcodes, you can actually drive around to multiple McDonald's. My Nana and Poppy don't even go to the football, but we give them our membership passcodes, and it's their favourite thing every Monday to drive around the Rockingham area, Baldivis, Warmborough, Kwinana, Secret Harbour, even up to Coburn. They're like, I've got about 20 Big Macs, and I'm like, Nana, I don't even want to eat McDonald's. Get a life and stop eating Big Macs. You don't need them. Get one. Stop being gluttonous.
Big Macs are absolutely feral. They've got to get off them.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, elite sports club, go and eat a Big Mac.
I'm doing my health assignment currently on sort of a fast food advertisement in sports.
Oh, I remember doing that in year 10.
You're about to say year 12. You're a prick, mate.
Damn it.
Yeah, it's crazy though, isn't it?
Before we roll on with the Gold Coast game, Noah, I need to state something right here and right now to the Freo Faithful Army watching along at home.
Go on, mate.
After a Freo win, love to hear people talk about how good Freo are, right? I listened to Fireball Monday with David King and Kane Corns. Not a lick of Freo. Not a lick, all right? So I head over, watch First Crack. All they talked about was Murphy Reid. All right, I'll put on the couch. Nothing. We just beat Port Adelaide by 50 points. And, you know,
I'm so happy you're mentioning this.
This is not a new thing, right? This is not new news. I used to stay up and watch the footy show with my mum and dad back in the day, and they'd talk about Freo for 2 seconds. So why I'm bringing this up, Noah, is do not get it twisted. What we bring here on the Freo Faithful channel is the most comprehensive and best coverage you're going to get of Freo. Breakdowns, how we played, what's up next, and covering everything. So when you're thinking about who do I need to listen to, talk about Freo this week, Freo Faithful is your one-stop shop. That's what I had to say. I just had to get that off my chest because I was thinking today, I was like...
I'm a big fan of that sort of advertisement.
I was just like, we actually just do talk about Freo more than anyone. And, you know, we're a Freo channel, so it's probably makes sense. But
it's good. It's lucky we do talk about Freo, otherwise the channel would be in scruff.
Oh, we do talk about other things on our exclusive page, but that's in the works. We'll we'll move on to the Gold Coast game. Peel Thunder exclusive. All right.
Oh, far out.
Gold Coast. So, as I said, the Big Mac is out. Mac Andrew is out, which, you know, you never want to see another team's players injured unless they're playing your team. Then you're like, absolutely, please injure as many of the other team as possible. No, that's horrible. I was very keen for the Josh Tracy Mac Andrew matchup, but across the park, you know, pound for pound, we stack up really well against the Gold Coast Suns. Their defense, Mac Andrew won't be playing, but Sam Collins, your man Bodie Hewland. I don't know where Charlie Ballard is at the moment. I don't think he's been playing, but they're running half back.
He's out for the season, I think.
Damn, unlucky. You can sit up in the stands with the Big Mac. Claim your Big Mac for free this month. No. John Noble, Dan Rioli, the acquisitions that they have can really drive the ball from half back. And then their midfield, you know, Anderson, Rao, Fiorini have been the main ones that run through there. Tuke Miller will go to centre bounces as well, but as sort of been playing more as a high half forward with Ben Long, who's been unreal this year. Ben King, who's, you know, a proven goal kicker, Jed Walter. They've got talent across the park, so many ways that they can hurt you, so it's going to be a good test up against the Gold Coast at People's Choice? People's First?
People first, not plural.
People first.
People. Yeah.
Let's just call it Metricon. Come on now.
Yeah, Carrara.
What are you saying?
I think the way we win this game on the weekend is purely based off front half pressure. Because as you were just discussing, their sort of half-back ball users are the main way they move the footy, and they move it very, very effectively. The pickups of John Noble and Daniel Rioli have sort of been the best 1-2 punch sort of pickups this trade period. They have just revitalised the way the Gold Coast Suns play. Damien Hardwick obviously had a year last year to sort of get his hands all over the club and figure out how the Suns are going to play long term and how they're going to play their best footy, and he's figured out they need a couple good ball users off halfback. He went and got John Noble and Daniel Rioli, and that's the way they're playing their best footy. As you just said, my man Bodie Hewland, I've been a big investor in Hewland stocks ever since he got drafted, and he is repaying them because I think he's the most underrated player in the league. He is incredibly versatile. He can play small, he can play tall, and his ball usage is very, very good in all facets of his game. As you just mentioned, their midfield is very scary. I don't know if it's a week we can deploy the old Corey Wagner tag, because if you get rid of Anderson, then you've got Rao to deal with. And if you get rid of Rao, then you've got Miller to deal with. So, yeah, there's a lot happening with the Suns out
against GWS.
He spent time on... I feel like he spent a bit of time on Callahan. I'm not sure. But we may have not deployed a tag that game. Point is, he's tagged 2 players this season, mainly. It's been Zach Butters and Nick Dacos, 2 of the best in the comp. And he's shut them both down. So, really, he can go to anybody and get a hold of them. He's a team-first player. And you need the Corey Wagners in your team if you want to be a good side. As I mentioned earlier, the rain's going to play into... I'm not sure whose hands it's going to play into, because the Gold Coast on a wet day is tough for any opposition in the comp, no matter how good they are at wet weather footy. The Suns just know how to get it done.
Brisbane beat them in the wet. In the Q
True.
Clash.
That was at the Gabba, however. People first is a very, very different sort of proposition. So, yeah, I've got to be a confidence.
Why is it a different proposition?
And they're just good there. It's like if Gold Coast travelled to Perth. Optus is obviously a different proposition.
They've only played 2 games this year, the Suns. They've
only played 2 games in the whole year, and they're sitting third.
People first.
That is incredible.
People first. Don't be smart with me, boy. Rein it in. I think, and when we played Collingwood, like the siren was about to go, and it was just Brayshaw next to Dacos, and I was like, this is what I want to see. This is what I get my mum to pay the Payo subscription to see.
This is why you go to the footy.
Yeah, I wanted to just see Brayshaw go toe-to-toe with Nick Dacos, but what ended up happening, as soon as the game got into general play, Wagner just went to him. I don't think you can put Corey Wagner on Matt Rao. The explosiveness that he has, the amount of gears he has to go, I think Noah Anderson's quietly going under the radar, having a really good season, particularly in that Hawthorn game. He was unreal. So, sort of that... first use out of stoppage, I think is really good at, and yet, his skills are elite. So I'd like to see Wagner go to him, but let's just back our midfielders in here. Like, they don't have a tag. It's a day for Sarong to get busy. Let's just back our mids in to win the clearance, get that field position. And we didn't really talk about the back 6 against Port Adelaide, but the way that they set up behind the ball was magnificent. We didn't speak. We spoke in the first podcast about this, but Heath Chapman and Carl Warner, some games that they had on Saturday night, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I was just saying how you need the Corey Wagners in your team if you want to be a premiership side. Well, you definitely need the Carl Warners as well, because he just puts his head over the footy in every possible instance. We know the class Heath Chapman has. I can't remember what it was, but a couple weeks ago he had quite a poor game, and it's just to Heath Chapman's sort of credit that he only has a poor game once or twice a year, because he's bounced back like nobody's business. He's just rocking up every week, and whether it's tall or small, whatever role he gets given, he just executes it so well. So yeah, back 6 performed very well. There were no passengers down there really. I saw in the West that Daniel Laidley said that Brennan Cox didn't have a fantastic game. I personally didn't see Cox. I didn't see Cox in a negative light. I thought everyone played their role quite well. And yeah, I think the back 6 are in good form as a whole. Against the Giants, it was sort of a team effort to shut down Jesse Hogan, led by the Brennan Cox brigade, and obviously the Toby Greens and the Darcy Jones struggled to get going. And on the weekend, it was a pretty non-existent Port Adelaide forward line, but it was really only Georgiades who made an impact for them. So yeah, they're in real good form, and I think this Gold Coast forward line, I said it in the first pod, but they work best when sort of their whole team is clicking. I don't think it's necessarily a forward line full of individual talent. Yes, they've got some very, very underrated pieces, smaller, like Ben Long early in the season was in smoky All-Australian discussion, and Bailey Humphrey, if he didn't break out last year, he's certainly breaking out this year. So yeah, they're real dynamic down in the forward line, and we've definitely got to be wary of them.
Bailey Humphrey is a player that can just break a game apart at any moment. Like, I don't know if you watched the Hawthorn and Brisbane game at the G the other night, but when Cam Rayner just turned it on in that second half, like, that's the type of player that he is. And we spoke about it on podcast 14.1, but our small forwards are a lot different to theirs. We've got, like, proper small forwards, like, in stature, quite literally small forwards in Switter, Murphy Reid, Isaiah Dudley, that are very sort of evasive, agile, and smart with their skills, whereas they have guys like Ainsworth, and Bailey Humphrey who can roll up into the midfield and really make an impact. So different types of small forwards. I'm going to back us in to get the dub. I don't know. I'm back on the horse now. I'm feeling like our best footy can beat anyone after the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I sort of just mentioned there Kyle Warner. I really liked his game against the Power on Saturday night. I spoke about it on the fan cams. I think he's in a similar vein to Luke Ryan. And this is a conversation we had on episode 14.1 as well. The best defender of all time at Freo. His name definitely starts with Luke.
It definitely does start with Luke. Not sure what the suffix to that is. My personal opinion,
is it Ryan?
I think it's McFarlane, personally.
Yeah.
But look, you were making a very, very strong case for Luke in terms of personal accolades. Two-time All-Australian, Doig medalist, Luke McFarlane never won a Doig. You could also make the argument that Luke Ryan didn't play with Matthew Pavlich and David Mundy and whatnot, and Lachie Neale. I mean, for a short period of time he did. But yeah, it's certainly a discussion to be had because he's putting together some career, and we sort of forget where we got him from. We got him mature age, Luke Ryan. I think he was playing for Box Hill, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm going to fact check that. I feel like he wasn't a Box Hill boy.
Fact check it. He definitely came from the VFL, whether it was Box Hill or not. I think he's putting together some sort of career. And Carl Warner, you just said what? Carl Warner's in the same vein as Luke Ryan.
Coburg. That is a niche team to be pulled from because they're not even
Coburg or Coburg?
Coburg,
I think. Okay.
29 years of age.
There you go. We did get him mature age. I'm pretty confident. And it was a late pick. If you could fact check that as well. But yeah, Carl Warner. I'm pick not 66. Necessarily.
Yeah, there you go. I'm Wikipedia right now. Sorry to cut you off. And a Waffle Premiership player in 2017, a great grand final, Piltona versus Subiaco.
There you go. Last ever game. No, not the last ever game at Subi Oval. That was international rules, Australia, Ireland. But apart from that, we'll move on. Carl Warner.
With lots of facts right now.
We are fun facts.
Freo Faithful.
Yeah. Freo Faithful. Change the name.
Has your camera gone out of focus?
All right, it's back. I just saw that. Carl Warner putting together some sort of season. I do see the shades of Luke Ryan, but he's a bit smaller. I think he's got a bit more sort of talent at ground level, and I think his ceiling is very, very high. I'm not going to say it's higher than what Luke Ryan's reached in his career, but I certainly think he can get to those sorts of areas. Carl Warner, we were discussing sort of early in the season as, an in-and-out sub guy. He'll mostly be at Peel this year, but to his credit, and to a lot of our guys' credit just in the team, like the Murphy Reid, the Isaiah Dudleys, the Carl Warners, the Cooper Simpsons, they've all come into the team and they've taken their opportunities with both hands. And that's the sort of... and Neil Erasmus as well in recent weeks. It's the sort of thing we need from guys from Peel who are banging the door down. They take their opportunities and they force their way into the team. It's a healthy sort of thing to have.
100%. Yeah, they haven't really missed a beat when those guys have come in. Carl Warner at the start of the year would do really good things and really poor things. Like
Brandon Walker-esque.
Yeah, like Brandon Walker was that player for a very long time. But I think Kyle Warner, now that he's sort of nutted out those early mistakes, he's looking like a really solid player for us. Really tough player. And you said there, like, he would have been a Peel player for most of the season, in and out, but he was first choice last year, 2024, round one, when he got knocked out against Brisbane. So he's obviously rated very highly by JL. And he's going to have a big job to do, probably on a Bailey Humphrey or a Ben Long or a Noah Ainsworth this week up on the Gold Coast.
Noah Ainsworth is the Brisbane player. Ben Ainsworth is the Gold Coast player.
Not Dante Vezoncini, Dante DiVincenzo. But,
he's a good shooting guard, Dante.
Yeah. Who do you reckon won that trade?
Carl Anthony
Towns.
Nick's won that trade because Cat's leading them to a potential comeback here in the East. So
yeah, I don't like Knicks fans after that, what they did to Boston. Anyway, about 20 people just clicked off the podcast because we started going into NBA stuff. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for supporting the Freo Faithful channel. We're loving the community that we're building. The fan cams are always fun. Make sure you guys hop on there and join the Freo Faithful podcast channel if you haven't already. This percentage, Noah, of people aren't subscribed to the channel and they watch these videos and they enjoy them, but they are not subscribed. So make sure you guys are subscribed. If you listen on Spotify, we see you guys as well. Make sure to follow the podcast, hit 5 stars, and get involved with the socials, all that good stuff. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, go Freo. And no Oppo view this week because Gold Coast Suns don't have any fans. See you later.